We live in a strange paradox. We have never been more connected, yet we have never felt more alone. We document every moment of our lives, yet struggle to actually experience them. We dream of digital immortality while fleeing from the very awareness of death that might make our lives meaningful. The 20th century philosopher Martin Heidegger spent his life exploring questions of authentic existence. And though he died in 1976, his insights illuminate our digital predicament with startling clarity. Today, we will explore how Heidegger would diagnose our modern condition, from selfie culture to consciousness uploading, and what his philosophy can teach us about living authentically in a world designed to distract us from the fundamental questions of existence. Let's start with something seemingly trivial but deeply revealing: the selfie. For Heidegger, most of us don't actually live as individuals. We live as what he called das Man, literally the they. We do what one does. We think what one thinks. We present ourselves as one is supposed to present oneself. We're not authentic selves, but anonymous crowd followers, constantly conforming to social expectations we never consciously chose. Now consider the selfie through this lens. When you take a selfie, are you capturing an authentic moment of self-expression, or are you performing what one is supposed to do on social media? The pose you strike, the filter you choose, the caption you write, how much of this emerges from your genuine self-understanding versus from what gets engagement, what's trending, what the algorithm rewards? Heidegger would argue the selfie represents the perfection of inauthentic existence. We're not being ourselves. We're being what we think others expect us to be. We've transformed even our faces into content, our experiences into performances, our very identities into brands to be managed. And here's what makes this particularly insidious. Social media creates a feedback loop. The likes and shares train us what to post. The algorithm learns what we respond to and shows us more of it. We become increasingly molded by systems designed not to help us discover who we authentically are, but to maximize our engagement with the platform. This isn't to say authentic expression is impossible online, but it requires constant vigilance against the platform's pull toward conformity, against the temptation to shape ourselves for algorithmic approval rather than genuine self-understanding. But Heidegger's most powerful insight concerns our relationship with mortality, what he called being toward death. For Heidegger, death isn't just a biological event at the end of life. It's the constant companion that gives life its urgency and meaning. When we truly confront our mortality, not intellectually, but viscerally, we experience what Heidegger called anxiety. Not ordinary worry about specific things, but fundamental anxiety about existence itself. This anxiety is uncomfortable. It forces us to ask, why am I here? What am I doing with my limited time? Am I living according to my own authentic possibilities, or just drifting along with the crowd? Most people spend their lives fleeing from this anxiety. But Heidegger insisted it's precisely this confrontation with mortality that calls us toward authentic existence. When you truly grasp that your time is limited, that every choice forecloses other possibilities forever, that no decision can be indefinitely postponed, then your choices begin to carry real weight. Now consider how our digital age systematically eliminates this confrontation with mortality. Our posts persist after we're gone, creating the illusion of digital immortality. Cloud storage promises permanent preservation of our memories. Life extension research suggests we might defeat aging. Transhumanists dream of uploading consciousness to computers, achieving effective immortality. Heidegger would see all of this as the ultimate flight from authentic existence. The upload fantasy is particularly revealing. It treats consciousness as mere information, the self as data to be backed up and transferred. But this misses entirely what makes existence meaningful, its groundedness in finitude, embodiment, and irreversible time. Ask yourself, if you had infinite time, infinite do-overs, infinite chances to try everything, would any choice truly matter? It's precisely because our time is limited that our choices have existential weight. Remove that limitation, and you remove the very thing that makes life meaningful. Consider the dating app phenomenon. Unlimited swipes promise unlimited romantic possibilities, but this abundance creates paralysis. Nothing feels precious because everything feels replaceable. The anxiety we feel isn't authentic existential anxiety calling us toward meaningful choice, but artificial anxiety that drives endless consumption. Heidegger wrote about the importance of what he called profound boredom, not just the absence of stimulation, but a state where we confront the groundlessness of existence and face the question, why do I exist at all? This sounds depressing, but Heidegger saw it as essential. In profound boredom, the comfortable structures of everyday life dissolve. We're forced to take responsibility for our own existence. This is the opening to authentic life. Now, when was the last time you experienced true boredom? The moment we feel unstimulated, we reach for our phones. Infinite scrolling promises endless novelty. Streaming platforms offer unlimited entertainment. Podcasts fill every silence. We've created a technological cocoon that shields us from ever being alone with our thoughts. But what are we avoiding? Heidegger would say we're avoiding precisely the encounter that could lead to authentic existence. We're running from the questions that might actually matter. What am I doing with my life? Am I living according to my own values or just following the crowd? What truly deserves my attention and energy? The apps and platforms know this. They're designed to capture every moment of potential reflection and fill it with content. They profit from our distraction, from our inability to sit with difficult feelings, from our desperate need to avoid the anxiety that authentic existence requires. And here's the cognitive cost. When our minds become habituated to constant stimulation, we lose the capacity for what Heidegger called meditative thinking, the patient, sustained contemplation that allows deep understanding to emerge. The greatest insights in philosophy, art, and science have come from sustained contemplation, from dwelling with difficult questions without seeking immediate answers. If we lose this capacity, we don't just lose personal authenticity, we lose our civilizational capacity for depth. Here's something particularly troubling. Social media algorithms don't just respond to our preferences, they actively shape them. The algorithm learns what keeps you engaged and shows you more of it. Your beliefs get reinforced, your biases get amplified. You're shown content that confirms what you already think, rarely encountering views that might challenge your assumptions. Heidegger would call this technological thrownness, being shaped by systems whose operations remain hidden from conscious awareness. It's a new form of Das Man, but instead of conforming to social expectations, you're conforming to algorithmic patterns designed to maximize engagement. The danger is that this eliminates genuine surprise, authentic encounters with otherness that might transform your understanding. When the algorithm only shows you what you already believe or desire, growth becomes nearly impossible. And here's what makes it insidious. The curation feels natural. You rarely think about why certain content appears in your feed while other content doesn't. The algorithm knows what you like better than you do, or rather, it's training you to like what it wants to show you. How do you maintain authentic choice when your environment is constantly adapting to manipulate your behavior in ways you can't fully perceive? Heidegger would say you need what he called releasement, a letting be that neither rejects technology nor surrenders to its demands. Use digital tools deliberately for specific purposes, then return to presence. Remember that you're not obligated to be constantly available, constantly updated, constantly engaged. Consider how we're beginning to relate to artificial intelligence. People form emotional attachments to chatbots. They seek therapeutic advice from AI counselors. Some claim to fall in love with artificial companions. While these interactions provide comfort, Heidegger would warn they also provide pseudo-intimacy that allows us to avoid the vulnerability of authentic human relationship. It's safer to confide in an AI that won't judge, won't leave, won't have its own needs and complications. But authentic encounter with another person involves risk, the possibility of being fundamentally changed by the meeting. When you confide in an AI, you're ultimately talking to a sophisticated mirror, a reflection of yourself that responds with programmed empathy. This may be comforting, but it can't provide the disruption that authentic encounter brings, the challenge to your existing self-understanding that genuine relationship requires. True encounter involves what Heidegger called thrownness, being confronted with a being whose existence challenges your own assumptions. But AI companions and algorithmic friend suggestions promise to eliminate such disruption by pre-selecting compatible matches and creating controlled environments for interaction. The same logic applies to dating apps. They reduce the profound mystery of human encounter to consumable profiles based on optimized self-presentations. There's always another swipe, always another option. Committing fully to any single person becomes difficult when the platform constantly whispers that someone better might be waiting. So is there a path forward? Can we engage with digital technology while preserving authentic existence? Heidegger would say yes, but it requires what he called resoluteness, the courage to commit to particular possibilities despite uncertainty, despite knowing other possibilities will be foreclosed forever. Here are some practical principles drawn from Heidegger's philosophy. First, cultivate practices of disconnection. Create regular periods of complete digital silence. Notice the anxiety that arises when you're alone with your thoughts. Don't immediately reach for distraction. Ask what this anxiety reveals about your existence. Second, question constantly. Before engaging with any digital system, ask, what is this technology asking me to become? How does it want to shape my understanding of myself and my world? Does this serve my authentic existence or merely the system's need for engagement? Third, choose deliberately. Rather than letting algorithms choose what deserves your attention, make conscious decisions about what you'll engage with. Remember that attention is finite. Every moment spent scrolling is a moment not spent on something potentially more meaningful. Fourth, embrace commitment over optionality. Digital platforms promise to keep all options open, but depth comes through sustained dedication to particular relationships, projects, and ways of being in the world. Choose something and commit to it fully, even though, especially because, this means other possibilities will be foreclosed. Fifth, confront mortality regularly. Remember that you're going to die. Your time is limited. Every day that passes is gone forever. Let this awareness create urgency, not despair. Let it guide you toward what truly matters. Heidegger's challenge to our digital age is this. We've created the most sophisticated system of existential avoidance in human history. We've technologically eliminated boredom, manufactured digital immortality, algorithmically removed encounters with genuine otherness, and systematically trained ourselves to flee from the anxiety that might lead to authentic existence. But authentic existence remains possible. It always does, because it's grounded in the basic structure of human existence, mortality, finitude, the capacity to question why we exist at all. No app can eliminate these fundamental facts. No algorithm can solve the mystery of being. The question isn't whether to embrace or reject digital technology. The question is how to maintain our humanity within it, how to preserve space for authentic existence, genuine encounter, and the confrontation with mortality that gives life its urgency and meaning. Technology is not fate. It's a way of revealing the world that can be questioned, challenged, and transformed. But this requires vigilance, practice, and above all, the courage to occasionally step back from the digital stream and ask, who am I beneath all this noise? What am I doing with my limited time? Am I living authentically, or am I just performing what one is supposed to do? These are the questions that matter. These are the questions technology helps us avoid. And these are the questions that, if we're brave enough to face them, might lead us toward lives worth living.